Good afternoon, you beautiful people, and thank you for joining me in my home studio. I'm Ben Crowe from Crimson Guitars, and we're going to have some fun today. I am very excited to be getting started finally with my invitational category in the Great Guitar Build-Off. My invitational entry into the Great Guitar Build-Off. I've been planning on doing... I have a strange mind. I've been thinking about this for about 6 months, and I'm easily led. So every guitar I pick up, I think, oh, let's do a Jaguar. Oh, let's do an Acoustasonic style. Oh, let's make something Les Paul-y. Let's make something completely nobody's ever built before, ever. And when it actually comes down to the day, all of that is out the window, and I default to something I've been planning for, or I've been wanting to do for a number of years now. And that is to do a guitar build inspired by my love of watches and horology and watchmaking. And a lot of what, oh, don't say that. A lot of what makes me tick, a lot of what makes me enjoy what I do is finding inspiration in places that a lot of people don't and applying it. A lot of guitar builders will look at something from Gibson or the latest thing from Fender or more broadly their peers, and you're sitting there scrolling Instagram going, oh my gosh, that's genius. Oh my gosh, that's genius. And you get 40 or 50 ideas, and it's stuff that people have made. And those people, the ones with the unique ideas, are either absolutely blessed or they're looking for inspiration elsewhere, be it pottery or watchmaking or silversmiths or leatherwork or, I don't know, 17th century architecture. There are few things that are not applicable to a guitar build if you try hard enough. And that's where we're at today. So what I'm going to be doing is putting down the designs, putting down the general idea of what I'm going to do, and we may even start making some stuff today. I doubt that, but, well, it's entirely possible. Okay, anyhow, this is a live stream. This is a live stream, and I am looking forward to it. YouTube are telling me to insert ads here. I'm not going to do that. We've got Stephen Hatch, Rob Tootle, Paul Cook, KCM, Sweetie Guitars, JS Trucking, Dimitri, a bunch of names that I recognise from last night's live stream question time. Adair Guitars, how you doing? Adair Guitars, I was 100% going to do a Lord of the Rings inspired thing, and I can't ever do it now, can I? Adair Guitars says, very interested to see what Ben comes up with this year. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very, very, very much. Stephen Hatch says, we're talking about me experimenting with copper. I'm not necessarily in this one, although the watch that I'm partially inspired by is my Vertex here, which is actually a bronze. Which is one of my favorite materials of all time. Now, as this is a live stream, if you have any questions, send it through as a super chat, and I will guarantee to answer that. That supports the channel, but also means that I will absolutely see it. Me just standing here and scrolling through the standard chat can get boring very quickly for you guys. But if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. Frans Truiters in the house, Anonymous Botch, a bunch of members of the channel, Black Wraith, how you doing? Steve Tuttle Guitars, calling me the maestro. I'm not sure, but I am excited. Okay, let's get back down to the bottom of that. And Jules, how you doing? Yes, KCM, Adair Guitars is doing an awesome Lord of the Rings build, so much so that I'm not entirely sure if I'm ever going to be able to compete. It is incredible. And this is the beautiful thing about the Great Guitar Build-Off, is whether you're in at Crimson Guitars, we're competing in the professional category as well. I'm in the invitational. And then there are kit builds and scratch builds and all sorts of other things going on. And I feel intimidated and inspired by and awestruck by a lot of the builds going on by people who are not professionals, who have not been doing this for the last 20 years. I am getting as much out of seeing what you guys are doing as you get out of watching stuff that I do. And if not more. And I love it. Anyway, okay. I'm calmed down. I'm there. I need to apologize for being 2 minutes late to start the stream. At 1:25 p.m. I was on the other side, 2 villages over, necking my lunch, which was much delayed. It was a 4-minute drive from there, and I managed to get home in time. The annoying thing is I thought that would be the efficient way to feed myself today. But anyway, it is what it is. Now, should we get started? I'm doing a lot of videos, as you guys are seeing, looking at antique, let's not say antique, at vintage guitars, predominantly 1960s or thereabouts, and a lot of these guitars are not built to, you might say, the same standards, but the same expectations of solidity, shall we say. I have I should pull, yeah, this is going to be fun actually. I bought a Hohner London for the Guitar Museum that we are setting up at Crimson headquarters. And this is one of the first electric guitars made in the UK. I'm trying to figure out how I can actually fit this onto this workbench. The answer is I can't. And essentially this instrument is, there's almost nothing there, and it sounds great. Yeah, that'll have to do. Hold on, let me get this guitar and we'll have a look at this. Whoop. So here's a sneak peek. Lovely case. Okay, so this is a Hohner London Kingsway. Oh, where's that camera facing? And we've got original tailpiece, although it looks like something you could buy for not very much today. Simple bridge, simple top-mounted pickup. But the reason why we're talking about it today is the construction. It's essentially, I think, a plywood or something like that. It's entirely hollow, I think, and incredibly basic. But it sounds amazing, and doesn't need to be anything special. Now, the issues that I've got with this are the neck. You can see over time the strings are very, very near the ends of the frets. That's been carved away over time. The nut is wrong, it's not original, and I can fix this, I can make it playable, and I'm going to, on camera, at some point soon. But the reason I've brought this up is the construction method that I've got planned for the GGBO guitar is also non-standard. Okay. I don't know why, but I really, really love this case. Isn't that cool? Ah. Okay. Okay, we've got a couple of questions here. JS Trucking says, I'm surprised that you changed your mind. I asked you months ago to do the watch-inspired build as your GGBO, and you said, no, that would take too long. I am not surprised that I would change my mind. I have prior. I have prior. So yes, what I had planned for the watch build was to put every single idea I have ever had about a watch-inspired build in one guitar. And the realization that I've had is that, to be honest, every single build I do has an inspiration from me looking at watches. And I'm not necessarily talking about, you know, a standard thing from Omega or Rolex or Oris or any of these brands. I'm often looking at the utterly unobtainable from Grubel Forsey, where a watch is $1 million, etc. And the use of texture and light and shade and transparency is just, you don't need to have the watch, just have photographs of them on your wall. They are so beautiful. And if I can get that same idea in a guitar, then I'm happy. But yeah, the issue is that if I was going to do all of that, then yes, and the reason why my watch-inspired build, which has long been promised, hasn't occurred is because I haven't been ready to do that. I assumed that I would need, well, access to all the laser cutters and CNC machines and staff at headquarters, bar none, to achieve this. In reality, I'm going to do the whole thing by hand, and we'll be sorted. Okay. Kyle Ray has come in with a question, says Art Deco or Art Nouveau guitar would be really cool. I absolutely agree with you. I bought a book quite recently on, actually several, on that style, and yeah, I couldn't agree more. In this case, that's not what we're going for. Okay. Fun times. Negative space, that's from Stephen Hatch, absolutely. TPP says you missed out on Apple or smartwatches. They are less inspiring to me, yet also when you delve into the UX design, the user experience design in that style of watch, it's as interesting, just for from a different point of view, in my experience. Okay. Now, my temptation is actually to use a very standard, very recognizable shape. Because, after all, this guitar is going to be available via raffle, raising money for Great Guitar Build-Off, and thus helping get tools and guitar building courses and the like in the hands of people who can't afford to get into this fantastic hobby. And in this day, everything's getting harder for everybody, and you know, the more we can do to help, the better. So it's all well and good me going completely off-piste and really going crazy, as if the last two GGBO entries from me were not enough. I wanted to do something that is both absolutely unique, but also something that almost any guitarist in the world would look at and say, oh, I want that. And that's where I'm at. So I'm just going to go off camera. If you guys have any questions, have a look. We're saying, okay, so I've got a suggestion saying PRS. Stephen Hayes reporting in from Scotland. Okay, now I've lost my template. I was fully expecting to be back here earlier, and that did not happen. Okay. So, sneak preview just for you guys. Yeah, the dog's barking in the background. If you watch the main channel, I took delivery of a load of incredibly beautiful swamp kauri from New Zealand, and I'm going to be doing a custom build or 2 or 3 for the customer who owns that wood. And the first one is going to be inspired by the Fender Jaguar, actually, sorry, Acoustasonic. And I have never, ever in my life made a guitar with this exact shape. I really like it. What do you think? Not the whole Acoustasonic bit, not the inlaid top, and also not the cutaways, but this is where I am currently leaning, or at the very least something based on this. Let me know in the comments. Lisa Harshberger says, what? Not a hurdy-gurdy ukulele? Not this time. I would love to put hurdy-gurdy mechanism into an electric guitar, just for fun. I do have another template that really has gone walkabouts. Now, an alternative as suggested earlier would potentially be a Paul Reed Smith style. Now, the reason I quite like this is you've got a fairly round shape, or a Les Paul actually. What I don't like about it is that I do this sort of guitar on a semi-regular basis. It's not something that is unique. It's something that you've seen me do quite a lot. So yeah, I think this is the beastie. Now, let's have a look at my kit, shall we? What am I even doing? Yeah. I don't have anywhere to put anything. I'm organised, honest. Okay, this is a Crimson Guitars uncut kit. There are any number of companies making kit guitars where you can buy a Telecaster or a Strat or a Les Paul or something like that, and you can put it together at home. You don't need many tools, you don't need particular skills in carving or fretwork often, although sometimes depends on how good the kit is. I decided that the absolute best way to teach would be to go halfway between a kit guitar and a full-on build. Hence something that is like this, where we have done the neck pocket. We've got everything fitted absolutely perfectly. Your neck is carved or uncarved if you prefer. We've got the frets in, or at least the slots done. And then you can take that and customize it to create whatever you want. Now, and it's a very successful part of what we do at Crimson. I almost just want to draw straight onto the body. Anyway, okay, let's have a look. So I need to work out where the end of that is. Now the pickups that I have for this are also quite special. That's the sound of me concentrating. There you go. Isn't that perfect? There's just something so timeless about this. I'm not a particular fan of just how tight that curve is in general. Personally, I would change it just a little bit. Even adding 1/2 centimeter to a guitar makes a huge difference. Anyway, okay, so this is where we're at. Now, I don't need I don't need 90% of this material. I don't necessarily want 90% of this material. Now, in my previous GGBO incarnations, previous GGBO instruments that I've built, I have cut away a lot of material. And I'm going to do it again this time. Although this time it's going to be a lot of routing, I think, thinking about it. Okay, let's have a look at the chat. No major questions. Okay, no questions. Well, there we go. We can crack on. I am interested in. Yeah. Okay. Fine. That's the basic idea. Now the neck is pretty much there. I'm not going to need to change anything about it. I'm not going, well, apart from the headstock, obviously. But let's get down to brass tacks, shall we? There are many things, given a basic shape, given the fact that this is not a custom shape, I'm going to have to look elsewhere to. I'm going to have to look elsewhere to express the watchmaking stuff. JS Trucking says the overhead camera keeps flashing to black every few seconds. That is a problem. It is a problem. It's also not centered, which is a bit awkward. I think that is to do with the length of the HDMI cable, although it seems to be intermittent, which is most annoying. Especially considering the overhead camera is the one that we want to use to show what design work I'm doing. Typical. Okay. A little bit too fine. That might do it. One can never have too many pens. Daniel Marquez has just joined as a member on the channel. Thank you very much, Daniel. Welcome to the club. Come on. The camera doesn't like focusing on something that isn't physical. Okay. Okay, so when you're talking about watches, it's the first thing that occurs to you. Well, I mean, this is the Vertex watch. I absolutely love how you've got these 3D applied numerals in solid glow-in-the-dark material. I absolutely love that, and it's why I fell in love with this watch. But it's the construction, it's the fact that you've got multiple layers. You've got your focus. You got your back. You got the crystal. There is also a bezel, which is this section here, and then the body of the watch. And I've often thought that it would be interesting to experiment with a similar construction technique on a guitar. And what we're talking about, damn this camera. Come on, man. Sorry. Okay, manual focus only. Okay, just for the video. So you've got your crystal on the front, the beautiful 3D applied numerals in solid glow-in-the-dark material. And this particular watch is made out of bronze. It's the limited edition, it's a limited edition. And the back and the case. And I've often thought that it would be so cool to build a guitar where you've got the same sort of construction technique. So you've essentially got, a body and everything bolts into that section. Now, we're looking here at a watch that has a sapphire crystal glass front. It's transparent. You're supposed to see through these things. And there have been plexiglass guitars made left, right and center since acrylic was something that was available, and you know my antipathy towards resin guitars and the like. To a certain extent. But this guitar has to be transparent. A lot of watches have a skeletonized movement, which is part of the beauty of it. Removing as much material as possible makes the watch interesting. Removing as much material from a guitar as possible does the same thing. Most of us like lightweight guitars. Most of us like seeing what's going inside things. And that is the plan here. And that means I need to make this out of glass. Now, Morningstar guitars, I am not. Or acrylic. And I'm actually wanting to use sheet acrylic. So I'm not going to be pouring resin, I'm not going to be messing around with all of that. Been there, done that, threw up on the t-shirt. No, I take that back. I really did like my Bogo guitar. But anyway, I want the top and the back of this guitar to be see-through, 8mm thick, I suppose, sheet acrylic. And we'll see where we go from there. Now, for now, I'm going to stop and answer a few questions. and breathe for a second as well. Okay. Austerum, okay-ish bassist, is coming with a super chat. Says, I hope this isn't a dumb question. How do I join all that jazz? Probably a man look, but I can't see a link. I think that it is up at the top, just above the chat, I think. But I honestly don't know. Rob Tootle says, when accounting for bridge height with a neck break angle, is that with the saddle in the middle of its adjustment range? Generally, yes. Yes, absolutely, yes. Basically. SM Meyer says, sounds like he's going to put a bezel on the guitar. To a certain extent, I am indeed. JS Trucking says, here's an idea. Implement the numbers from the watch face as the fret marker inlays. I'm not going to do the fret marker inlays, although I do like that idea. There's somewhere else on a guitar where you have numbers quite a lot. It feels so weird to not be wearing a watch. And that is on the control knobs or around the control knobs. We will get to that in a minute, but I had that exact thought earlier. Earlier in this process. Mark Phillips has just joined All That Jazz as a member. Thank you very much, Mark, and welcome. You weren't at lunch with me and my wife. We were discussing career changes and hitting 40 and changing things and putting our phones on silent. That's a bit better. And people in their 40s getting a degree and having a complete different change of career. I have, to a certain extent, done that. My camera is off-piste. Damn it. Hold on, let me fix this. And where was I going with that? Ah, I remember. Members and all of that. This is something that I've essentially done and am in the process of doing myself. And that is not that I'm bored with guitar building, but to a certain extent, guitar building takes a long time. And I love making videos as much as I love making guitars. So we have, there we go, that's straight, fantastic. I've started luthier teardowns and guitar stories and other guitar related content where it's just a single video, and it's also a lot easier to film. It's a lot less time involved than a build. I'm also never going to stop building guitars. But the beautiful thing about those videos is it's not going to take me long to get quite far ahead of the pack, I think. And our members are going to be getting more and more content, more and more behind the scenes stuff. And yeah, it's going to be great. Sweet Tea Guitars, how do you do, man? Says, use small brass or stainless threaded inserts and screws to attach the acrylic to the body. You have got it in one. Although small? Maybe not small. Let's leave that there so we can have a look at that. And let's change things up a bit. Okay. So here's our body. I don't want curves, although you do get curved bezels quite a lot. I really like the angles that you've got on the bezel of this Vertex. So I want to have, and I've done this as standard on quite a few of my guitars over the years, nice hard bevels on the edges. Like that. Now, I also want to have an 8mm top set into the body. So let's say that our body is, for the purposes of strength, it's quite important that we have a relatively chunky section of wall, specifically specifically in the areas where you've got your grain going like that, and you've got a thin piece here. That there is very delicate, and even more so at the strap button. If you have a thin piece of wood here and it's all end grain like that, or short grain like that, that when you drop your guitar just a little bit heavier on the strap button, that strap button will just blow straight through into the body. And that will suck. And I know it sucks because it's happened to me in the past. So the frame, the bezel, the body of this watch guitar is going to have to be fairly substantial in order to stop that happening. And I'm saying about 15 to 20 millimeters thick. Okay. Now, the next thing you'll see is that your crystal on the watch, I'm showing it to the wrong camera, your crystal on the watch here is also raised up above the bezel. And I want to do that on the guitar as well. So we're going to have a recess here. We'll say that's 15 to 20 millimeters. We'll have our recess into which the acrylic insert is sitting. And that is too long, Ben. Come on, plan ahead. What do you think? I hope you like it. Okay, now with 8mm thick acrylic, the only worry that I've got is the strength of the bridge itself. And we're going to open up the hardware that GGBO supplied with the kit. And we'll have a look at what we've got. I'm seriously considering customizing or making some custom hardware for this. At the very least, I'm going to be making custom knobs. But we'll get to that in a second. Under the bridge itself, I am potentially going to have to put a block of some sort, or much in the same way as you've got with a violin, potentially a couple of sound posts connecting the back and the top under the bridge to just solidify the whole thing. Now, a guitar works completely differently to a violin. A violin, you're physically driving the string with your bow and the rosin and the horsehair and all of that stuff. And every single note, for the most part, unless you're playing pizzicato, is physically being driven by that interaction, and that goes through the sound post into the body, and the whole thing just breathes and sings, as it were. With a guitar, it's a different story. You pluck it, and then the string continues vibrating. So a guitar has to be built in a lighter manner, to a certain extent, an acoustic guitar at the very least. But an electric also needs a support under the bridge. I'm not sure where I was going with that. It might have been some interesting information, but it probably wasn't actually germane to what I'm talking about. What can you do? JS Trucking says, how ridiculous is this? No camera issues in the Luthiers question time stream, but the minute you start an actual build or design, the cameras go haywire. I don't understand it. It's intensely annoying, but yeah, what can you do? Ooh. Hub Mech says, if you make the bridge support out of brass, it will look like part of a watch mechanism. I like that idea a lot. And there is going to have to be some brass involved here. I kicked that, of course I did. Instead of acrylic, use a material they make riot shields out of. It polishes up like glass and has better light fastness than acrylic, I believe. That's from Stephen Hatch. I don't know what that material would be. Could you guys let me know? Whoa, that's selfie mode. I can't believe I take selfies. It still feels just naughty to me, but anyway. So here we go. We've got our transparent basic plan for the body. Essentially, I'm not going to need very much comfort carves, very much in the way of comfort carves. We've got a couple of bevels on here, and it's going to be very comfortable on your arm. It should be strong enough, even with the cross grain in this bit, because it's, you know, fairly substantial. All we have to worry about is how are we going to affix these things and make them all work. Now, one option, well, the option that I have chosen is to actually use bolts going through from the front to the back entirely. But what that actually means is that I'll need to make that a little bit more substantial. So here's your bolt. Here's your other bolt. And these have various names. So essentially you've got one side which is a threaded section. The other side is hollow and takes that bolt, and they go together and hold it together. I know them as sex bolts. Let me know what else you call them. But this is also going to make the guitar look, this is going to look a little bit like the Royal Oak, I suppose, which isn't a bad thing. That's actually another very angular watch, and also entirely out of anybody's reach, pretty much. So yeah, having those all the way around the outside of the guitar will be very interesting. The other thing that then occurs is that you don't need to have back plates. You don't need to have access plates. It's going to be a bit of a schlep, shall we say, to gain access to electronics, absolutely. But if you need to look in there, if you need to take the electronics apart, then you just take the whole back off. Even if it is, say, 12 bolts. 12 bolts could be good. I'm going to have to write that down. That might work. Maybe 24. Even if it's 24 bolts holding the thing together, it's not going to take that much work to take the whole back plate off and service the guitar inside. And let's be real, you don't actually have to spend all that much time in the life of a guitar fixing the electronics, especially if it's done well in the beginning. And I sincerely hope that that will be the case here. Okay, so we've got our body construction method. We know how it's going to be held together, i.e. with zero glue. The neck itself is going to be bolted into the body with bolts that at least look the same, and which will, I must say right now, be intensely well polished, or maybe scratched up. Let's go for polished. But what we have not yet covered, well, there's several questions that come to mind. The first one is shielding. I am not currently planning on shielding this guitar at all. I'm going to be very interested. I'm wondering what that's going to be like. Now, I do like the idea of making the top and back out of leaded glass. I have no idea if that would actually act as a Faraday cage in any way. I don't think it actually would, but well, that could be quite cool. But yeah, as it stands, I'm not going to shield it. What I am going to do, however, is every single component internally. The pickups are humbuckers, and I need to pull those out for you and tell you why they are special. The pickups are humbuckers, and they've got a metal cover and a metal plate on the back. The wires are all going to be metal braided wires going into potentiometers, and every single potentiometer in this build is going to be intensely highly polished. I'm going to probably actually have to take the pots apart in order to go crazy with them. I'm thinking about doing some machine turning, which is something that you see on watch movements quite a lot. This is camera 3. So this is machine turning that I did on the side of this Guangsheng or Luban low angle plane because, you know, why not? I like the look. This is something, again, it's watch inspired, although I've seen this pattern on, as standard from the factory, some antique Norris hand planes, so it's not entirely new to plane making. Yeah, so I'm potentially going to do some machine turning on the potentiometers themselves, and every single thing that you see inside this guitar is going to be stunning and beautiful. And this is where it's going to get expensive and time consuming, and for me just rabbit holey, shall we say. So all of these components are self-shielding because they are metal or braided wire, etc. So that should be fine. Okay, I'm gonna have to put the watch back on. I feel absolutely naked right now. Okay, Richter Natala says use either one control or concentric controls and put them in the waist of the guitar with knobs that look like the crown of the watch. That is not actually a bad idea at all, although I want to use the numbers around the knob, and I've got something else that I want to try and do. I'll draw it for you in a second. That negates that. We've also had Big Unit suggest go for the volume control on the side like a watch knob. Same thing. I'm going to make custom control knobs that are based on this design, absolutely, but side mounting them unfortunately won't work for what I have in mind. JS Trucking, on talking about the sex bolts, he says those are called binding head screws at all the big box stores in the States. That's actually, I've heard several names for them, and that is not one of them. But that's good to know. JS Trucking also said use brass for the control knobs. It will mimic the look of the knob used to adjust the hands of the watch. Brass or bronze. I'm going to probably try and use quite a lot of bronze in this build. Again, this is one of my favorite watches, so we'll go from there. TPB has just joined All That Jazz as a member again. Thank you very much and welcome. I really love the fact that you guys are joining. Yeah, I've said it all before. I'm losing my mind at this point. Stian TV says, hi, for the cost of a pro setup, those were his parenthesis or quotation marks, for the cost of a pro setup, would you consider reviewing viewers' guitars? Also, how about rotating pickups like a Rick Turner? Have fun anyway. How about rotating pickups like a Rick Turner? First of all, yes, reviewing people's guitars is something that I have considered doing. I wouldn't do it on the channel. I have done it for people in person in the past, and I haven't actually necessarily charged for that, although nowadays my time is ever so slightly non-existent. It is something that I would consider. Doing it on the channel I would really struggle with being as honest as that sort of a thing would require if I was also filming it. Hell, I'm struggling. I have struggled in the past looking at you know, guitars by other manufacturers and thinking, okay, do I really want to say what I really feel about how they've done this? That was early on. Nowadays I just let loose. But yeah, if it's somebody who's learning and new in the field, I don't particularly want to be brutal on camera. Okay, rotating pickups like a Rick Turner, that could be fun. I really like the idea of doing the Dan Armstrong style sliding pickup at some part. In fact, I really want one of those guitars for the museum, or two. There's a guitar and a bass in Wednesday's auction at Garden Hallgate. But I haven't raffled off enough guitars to bid on anywhere near the amount that I want. So there we go. Bronze edge banding from Joseph Rogers. That is, we'll get to the edge banding in a second, but you might have just changed my plans there. Gnamp Fraser says, remember to note polycarbonate as an alternative to acrylic, etc. So polycarbonate, is that just as easy to route but stronger? That's, I suppose, the thing. I'm going to be using a router to make all this myself rather than laser cutters, etc. Damn it, I need to pay those people. Okay. Never stops, see? Okay. But success. Okay, JS Trucking says you don't have to worry about that. If they ask you to review it, then they want you to be brutally honest, so filming the review won't be an issue. I really wouldn't feel comfortable doing that, but I would film it and send them the video, absolutely. But yeah, it's one of those things, or do it in a live stream kind of thing. Anonymous Botch says, watch mainstring inset as the 12th fret marker. I do like the idea of doing that sort of stuff, but I also want to avoid, from the beginning, I've wanted to avoid it coming across as everything that has to be done for a reason. So watch mainspring exists to give the watch power. To use that just as decoration, it serves no purpose other than decoration, which in its own is, I suppose, fine actually. But I don't want to inlay cog wheels or something like that, which has been suggested before. If I'm going to put a mainspring in a guitar, I want it to actually power a tremolo, for example, or maybe some sort of a vibrato system or something absolutely insane like that. And yeah, we'll have to see. Anyway. So here is a standard potentiometer, a fairly deep one for that matter. What I'm hoping to do in this build is take the case off and either actually probably make a custom case for the inside of the pot. So the whole thing is going to be covered, the whole thing is going to be incredibly attractive and beautiful. That on its own is going to be a major video. This pot is giving us the finger. But that's going to be, yeah, a whole process in itself, creating a beautiful, highly polished potentiometer back or case. Now, the other thing that I was seriously considering doing was trying to figure out a way where I've got my numbers around. I completely messed that up. There we go. And as you sweep the pot, I was wondering about having an opaque window attached to the arm of the pot that then has got a window like the date window on a watch. And as you sweep it around, the window highlights and says, okay, here on this, you're only on number 8 or 9 in that case. And it goes around. I I don't think that that's going to be achievable in this build, but this is just another look into what I've been thinking about with regards to this. Now, my plan is to have the applied numerals like on the Vertex watches. It's one of their trademarks, and those will be applied to, I hope, the top of the guitar around the potentiometer. It's going to be spread out a lot further. Normally on a guitar it'll be on the knob itself. I think this is going to be a relatively difficult to achieve bit of the build, but should be absolutely worth it. I might even try and have them on the top and on the inside of the acrylic or polycarbonate as we go. We shall see. We shall see. Now, on the Jaguar, we've got a 5-way switch here. I think we're going to have to go rotary. I think that doesn't really fit with the whole feel of a watch-inspired build. So we're going to have to redesign where the controls go, and for the first time in a hell of a long time, I'm going to be using a rotary switch. Woohoo. Okay, let's have a look. I'm going to scoot through some of the comments and see what the ideas are. Yeah, there we go. Okay, fine. So, questions, queries, comments. Caleb O'Byrne. Yeah. Sorry, the comments move quite rapidly. I need to be up. Reminds me of the new watch Seiko has put out where you can see the dates through the face. I was very tempted to try and get my hands on one. I've seen that. It's a very, very attractive watch indeed. TPB, who's a member, says you could use a split pot and have the indicators acting like the hands of the watch. I could do that. I need to take some potentiometers apart and actually see what I could do physically to change them. There is going to be some serious engineering involved in this build, and it is going to be so much fun. Bonehead Guitar says, you mean you want to make your pots go to 12? I mean I want to make my pots go to 12. 100%. Mainspring to power the hurdy-gurdy wheel. That's from Mike Herbert. Yeah, Natsua Ido, as you pointed out, it's a Vertex, although Hamilton also do make some incredible watches, and this is fairly similar to their field watch. So yeah, you've got good eyes. Zachary Lanu says polycarbonate and acrylic do like to shatter, Lexan less so, but it's very heavy. Dan Armstrong's are Lexan though. The thing is, if I've got 8mm sheets here, I'm not too worried about it being shattering. Although you've just given me another idea, and that is to potentially make a custom case for this guitar that is also transparent. I really don't have the time for that. Polycarbonate doesn't chip as easy as acrylic, but does scratch more. Mark Jennings says, do I see more of those lovely pickups in the waiting? You do, Mark. Hi, how are you? Your name will be appearing again in a second. Steern TV says, buy viewers' guitars for the reviews. I was thinking viewer-owned interesting guitars, not necessarily their home builds. I hadn't realised. I thought that you were talking about home builds and things where, yeah, it would be a different story. Yes, that would be interesting. Andre Silva says, I'm not going to finish my GGBO build on time, which I'm sorry about, man. It says, and I'm not going to rush doing a bad job for a deadline's sake, but I can pretty much bet that Bun is not going to get it either. We'll see. Your lack of faith is justified. Gertie the Roadie says, Ben, have you watched the Gibson Slash collection on YouTube yet? He shows his original 59 Les Paul standard dark burst that is almost perfect. I haven't. It is actually in my watch list. Mike Hubert, good question. Will you be adding any jewels? So let's film this. So Mike Hubert's asking if I'm going to add jewels. Watches, there's pivot points, there's all sorts of things moving and rotating and all that jazz, and the pivot points on which the axles are rotating are made out of man-made rubies, essentially. It's basically red tinted sapphire crystal, and there's very little friction, and they're tiny little rubies. I hadn't actually considered putting any of those in the guitar, but now that you mention it, maybe I can build some into the potentiometers. If I end up having to make custom potentiometers, we're going to have some trouble here. Wow. Okay. Loxley says, would it be feasible to put a gear mechanism inside that attaches to the control knobs and pots that would turn when you adjust the volume or tone? I have thought up and drawn 3 or 4 different designs. I'm sorry for the puppies barking, by the way, of doing exactly that. And I really do think that there should be a way to do that. Have you had enough, Jasper? Actually, that's Pippin, sorry. Okay. This morning I was trying to film something, and one of the puppies was off at the vet and the other one was proper for a whole hour. Just inconsolable. They're brother and sister, and we got them so they had a support network, but when the support network is removed, they're somewhat annoying, actually. Anyway, this is not why we're here. Yes, I very much like that idea. But I'd already decided it's not feasible. I need to keep this relatively simple in some way, shape or form. Okay, let us have a look at the pickups quickly. Kevin Harvey, you are spot on. Make round tuner knobs like the winding knobs on watches. Now that's something that I've done in the past on guitars. My Delta 1 guitar, which was a long time ago, had that, and that is the plan. So can you hear that? I mean, it's quite cute. I don't even know what she's howling at. Wait. I know, we're out of focus, aren't we? autofocus. And now the second I point a camera at them, they decide no, they're going to stop. Typical. Okay, anyway, let's do this. So we're essentially going to be customizing the potentiometers. So every little bit of them is absolutely perfect. Probably with a full custom case. And that is going to be so fun from an engineering point of view. The other thing that I want to do on the control knobs is, instead of holding them in with a nut and washer like this, I'm seriously considering having potentially a washer underneath that locks it in place so it lines up properly, but actually cutting a thread into the Lexan or polycarbonate or acrylic top so that you don't have to have a nut holding it in from the top. That is probably overkill, probably overkill, but it's something that I've done in the past that I quite like. The only issue is that you then have to, if you want those the lugs to line up with anything else, which I do, it doesn't work out quite as nice. But anyway, we'll get there. Okay. Mark Jennings says, by the way, I have some dosh for no reason. Thanks very much, Mark. You're a good man. JS Trucking says, make a custom watch hand that will point to the number as you rotate the knob. That works even better than my rotating disc, which would I like that. So the date hand on some watches, forgotten the name of them now. Calendar, perpetual calendar watches, etc. The date hand is a hand that's then got a two-pronged trident on the end, which is going around the numbers at the end to, instead of just pointing at the number, you're surrounding it. Maybe something like that could be possible. I do think that should be possible. And again, very, very fun to do. Okay. And Steve Tuttle Guitars, hey man, says, Ben, don't forget on the numbers that the pot or shaft knob do not turn a complete circle. That is true. I had forgotten that. Where are we? So, yeah, essentially the pot. Let's have a look here. Come on. So that's 1. And it ends on 10, 11, 12. It goes 80% of the way. So we'll just have a 0 to 10. Oh, we'll just pretend that it goes to 12. That's sad. Lisa Harshberger says, what about washers that look like gears? Oh, okay. Washers, you could even, that's a damn fine idea. So we could actually create the nuts that hold everything down could be gear shaped, and instead of using a standard spanner or socket set or something like that, you have a custom tool that's got 3 prongs that locks it in place exactly. Hold on, I need to actually film this bit. So I'm going to just do the whole acting now for screen. Lisa's just suggested washers that look like gears. I think that what we could potentially do is make custom nuts to lock the pots in place, and the output jack, etc., and even the tuners. And the shape of that could have gear pinions cut out of them, and instead of a standard socket set or spanner, you've got a custom tool that fits in the gaps. And in fact, that would work somewhat similar to the locking system that holds the case back in on this watch. Now, actually, just out of interest, let's see. I'm going to go and find a tool. Hold on. One of my tools have moved. Okay, everything's working. Let's just look at that stuff for now. Where are we? Way! Haha! Okay, cool. Is that the one? Sorry, I'm just rummaging through a bunch of tools. No, that's full. And I can't actually seem to find the one that I'm particularly looking for. Ah, here we go. Okay. Sorry about that. No, this doesn't actually fit this one. Well, that's sad. I wonder if I can... No. Okay. No. I take it back. I'll find the right tool to open this watch case, and we can have a look inside later. I wonder if I can do it just with the two. No. Just a bit too wide. All right. It would have been fun. Okay. VTR addict. Will this be your 2024 GGBO entry or your 2025 entry? Yeah, I think you got me. JS Trucking and Guitars, again, you are the MVP of this stream. Thank you very much. Says you can use an old pot from a CB radio channel selector knob. It does rotate 360 degrees. I wonder if you get them in the right values. That could be interesting. I'll look into that. Let me write that down. Okay. And Lisa's Very, very good idea. I like it. Okay, cool. Nikki Von Driel says, you can't open it with the Leatherman. You've got the exact same thought as me. Why not? I have done this in the past. Not with this watch. No. No, the end of the Leatherman isn't quite chunky enough. Quite sharp enough. Yeah, anyway. Okay. I'm going to have one last quick look through the comments before we move on with the rest of this. The interesting thing about this watch is it comes with a variety of different straps as well, which you'll see through the build. I'll change it up. Okay, Paul wants a recap. All right, Paul, so I'm building my 2025 GGBO build is going to be essentially Jazzmaster Jaguar kind of shape, but watch inspired. I'm going to have it entirely transparent with a guitar-shaped bezel around the edge. It's all going to be bolted together. You're going to have Lexan, you're going to have custom-made potentiometer cases that are highly polished and beautiful. I'm going to make this as stunningly attractive as humanly possible, and it's going to be great fun. And I have got until December to finish it, so Anyway. Now, onto the pickups. Onto the pickups. We raised via raffle and super chats. We raised about £15,000 to donate to the British Red Cross Ukraine DEC appeal. Those words are going to be forever ingrained in my brain. I said them enough during that process. And for that build, House of Tone Pickups donated a set of pickups. And I asked for a nickel finish on them in order to match the Goto hardware that I thought would match, and in the end it didn't. So what ended up happening was that Mark Jennings, who's currently watching this stream, he had the exact same pickups but in bright chrome, which worked out better. And he donated those pickups for the build. I've still got the original House of Tone pickups in their incredible box, and that is what I'm going to be using on this build, which is also for a good cause. So here we go. Absolutely love House of Tone and what they do. So I'm telling you, Matt is an absolute genius. These are his Tronbuckers. He's an absolute genius. 4.75K, 4.4K. An absolute genius where it comes to pickup making, but also he just knows so much more about them than anybody else I've ever met. And I've met many pickup makers. So now, this is all going to be on display. I don't particularly like the look of that. That's normally hidden, and that's fine. But from the point of view of this build, I'm going to have to do something, and I'm going to have to make a custom back plate to go on the back of the pickup as well, to hide things and make them as pretty as possible from the back as well. I'm also considering doing the same machine turning on the sides of these pickups as we've got on the plane here, but just a little bit more delicately. So we'll see how that goes. But that's the pickups, and the pickups actually helped guide the flow of this build for me. These pickups worked very well on on hollow-bodied instruments and have got a particular tone and sound. And it got me thinking about whether I wanted to make this hollow body or how I was going to go about that. And that made me think again about this 3-part construction method and pushed me into making a watch-inspired build. So thank you, Matt. Thank you, House of Tone. I hope it works out. Okay, let's do some more drawing. So my control knobs, the control knobs are going to be straight knurled. So that's your knob. You've got a bevel on the top, and then, you know, it'll obviously be internally cut like that. But you'll have a shiny, beautiful bevel, maybe a little bit of a dome on there. But I want to straight knurl the pot, the control knob. It also doesn't necessarily need to be as tall as a standard control knob normally is. So I've just realized that all of that filming, all of that I've just said about the knob needs to be rubbed out and started again because I wasn't filming it for the final video that's actually going to go live. Sorry, this is going to be just a little bit repetitious. Control knob. So what we're talking about is something fairly similar to what we've got here, but not quite. We want a bevel to match everything else. Whoops. The bevel will be nice and shiny, and then I want straight knurling. But that's a standard sized pot. That doesn't have the same feel as that part of the watch, which I've completely forgotten the name of. I want a wider. Let's actually try and do this at full scale. I really like the wide and low knobs that you can buy from Shala. So same thing, nice and shiny. Hell, we might even have bevels on both sides. And that there is going to be a straight knurl, which means I'm going to need to buy the right knurling tool for my engineer's lathe here. Which is fine, because, you know, new tool days. You can't complain with new tool days. So that's the control knobs, and we're going to need 3 of those because we're using a rotary switch for the first time in years. The whole thing... I'm getting excited. Are you getting excited? Okay, we've done the pickups, we've done the control knobs. Let us now do the same. We'll have the same sort of idea for the tuner knobs. Okay, so our tuners, let's find a tuner. Let's find a tuner. There we go. Okay, so this is our fairly standard tuner here. Instead of this button, which is very organic and curvy and boring, we're going to have, as was suggested by one of our viewers in the live stream, we're going to do something slightly different. So let's just draw that around. So there we go. That's where we're at. We're going to add some sort of a knurled tuning system. And you got your nice shiny bevels, and maybe a straight knurl, or maybe a crosshatch knurl like that. Now, what that means, well, what that means is we've got yet another customization. It's in watchmaking and in anything, it's the tiny details, it's the small things, it's the afterthoughts that you then sit down and put hours and hours of thought into that make or break the build. It's, as I've said many hundreds of times, it's the last 5% of work that you put in that knocks people's socks off. And that is what we're after with this guitar. I want to knock some socks off. So, yeah, there we go. Hold on, my phone is shouting at me. I just need to make sure that everything's okay. That's okay. All right, pickups, control knobs, the bolts holding the guitar together, tuner, customizations and things, custom bolts, custom washers, custom numbers that we're going to have to use our CNC or laser cutter to create at headquarters, around the volume and tone controls, going to 12 of course, customized pickups, fairly standard looking guitar shape. And I am absolutely okay with that. Now, we've got to talk about the edge of the guitar. Okay, I'm uncertain. I'm undecided on this one factor. I was thinking about using a straight knurl pattern all the way around, like a Breguet. I think that's yeah, Breguet do that a lot. And if you haven't looked at Breguet watches, check out some Breguet watches. Abraham Louis Breguet is responsible for much of what we see as standard in a watch today, and he was, what, 200 years old, or 200 years ago or so. But in reality, there have been a couple of ideas during this stream that have put me off that, and I might end up just taking the wood and doing a solid solid silver or bronze paint finish and high gloss lacquer, and potentially have the whole thing done internally. I think that would probably be best. So as it stands, that's where I am. That's where I am sitting. As it stands, that's where I'm sitting. Ben, 2022. Okay. Headstock shape, we can leave that till later. Output jack, that's fine. Bridge. Let us have a look at the hardware that was supplied with this kit from Crimson Guitars, and see if we're going to customize that as well. I suspect yes. Whew. Okay. JS Trucking says, actually I would make the tuning head to be the watch gears. I'm wondering if I'm going to be... I might buy new tuners and replace the ones that come with the kit and have open gear tuners, because that really does work with this whole idea. Okay. Whoops. Okay. All right. Box of bits. Okay, so D'Addario strings, some standard Wilkinson humbuckers, which I will not be using on this build. everything required. There's the potentiometers that I'm going to be absolutely customizing the hell out of. What bridge do we have? Okay, standard. I might use these saddles. I think I'm going to make a custom plate. I think I'm going to have to customize those. Okay. Standard plastic surrounds. Oh, now here's something. I need to show you what we've been working on at headquarters. Let's just have a quick look here. Oh, tuners. Actually, ooh. I like these. I don't know what brand these are, but I really like the circular motif there on that locking nut, and that's also knurled rather nicely. I think that in combination with a custom knurled key area is going to be perfect. Nice. And then there's just various bits and pieces. There's a standard 3-way toggle, and I assume that's, yeah, control knobs, etc. But while I'm here, I was hoping to use a set of these on this build, but it's actually not going to be necessary, which is sad. Check this out. This is something that I've been pushing for rather a long time. So, a timber pickup surround is not that one we sanded through. It's a beautiful thing, but in exactly the same way that I was talking about the short grain on the guitar body, and that being a weak point, you've got the same issue here. You've got long grain going down, but these areas where the screws are short grain, and when you put your screw in, it splits. So what we've done is we've inlaid material going with grain going the other way. And look at that, the zero cote. Hold on. Not enough light from that side. And that's now, let's see. Okay. So the zero cote with ebony inlaid, mahogany with maple. The grain isn't actually cross-grained, which isn't what I'd asked for, but it is still incredibly strong. There's the zero cote one, that was the prototype. I even love the idea of having that with the inset bit on the top of the guitar going around a pickup. I think that is so attractive. So these are now actually available on the Crimson Guitars website. Yeah, isn't that cool? Tell me that's cool. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. Anyway, sorry, that's a complete digression. There you go. Ha. Okay. A little bit better than this plastic shard, yeah? Anyway, sorry, thank you for indulging me. I'm here to answer some questions now. Let's have a look at that. Kyle Ray says, I work at an electroplating place. If you need any of your custom parts plated, we mostly do copper, nickel and chrome, but we also do gold. Dude, seriously, please drop me an email to stream@crimsonguitars.com. I would love to talk to you. I've had a couple of things plated in the past, and using 2 different places, I've had disappointing results. And I haven't gone back to anyone because I didn't necessarily know who I could trust. Having an actual viewer who knows how to do this, I really would like to talk to you. And thank you very much for the offer. I will take you up on it, 100%. You're awesome, thank you. Black Wraith says, Ben, since you're planning to use brass or bronze as an accent metal for the tuner knobs, use brass or bronze, and to contrast the chrome tuner body. Good point. I wonder if I've got enough sheet bronze to make the bridge body out of that. The next question is, does chrome and bronze work? Or do I actually want everything to be chrome and no bronze at all? I hadn't considered that. Okay. We're getting there. We are getting there. Now, the screen I'm looking at is tiny and quite far away. Bum-ba-dum-ba-dum. You can burn them. A lot of people saying those the surrounds are cool. I'm really happy with them. I'm really happy. Yeah, Scott McDonald, it is the HDMI cable. I need to sort that out. Yeah, I'll sort that out. An aluminium bezel around the outside. Well, this is the thing. So I need to talk to Kyle. So the thought was to, I would love, well, let me record this. I would absolutely love to chrome plate the body of this guitar. Now, chrome plating wood is an absolute nightmare. You essentially have to finish it to perfection. You have to have a substrate that's absolutely flat and stunning and spot on. So you go through everything that you would normally do with undercoat, and then you buff it down, and then high gloss that you build up, and then you buff that to final finish. But that final high gloss that is perfectly flat has to be something like our shielding paint. Now that has got a high metal content. Metal? I think that you could chrome plate onto the shielding paint. Now that I say it out loud, I think I might be making a big boo-boo. However, it would be very cool to chrome plate the body. We don't have the time, so if I'm going to be doing it silver, then it's going to be sprayed. But it would be so cool, wouldn't it? Okay. Questions? So many, so much spam. Okay. Franz Tutor, off to catch a flight. Good luck. Having the camera next to me makes him nervous. Yeah, and they're only on mic stands as well. Anyway, it's all good. Yeah, have a good flight. Help, Ben, can you help me get... Blah, blah, blah. Larry Whitley says, help, Ben, can you help me get some House of Tone pickups? I've been trying to get a response for them for a set or two of humbuckers. I have a beautiful kit from Crimson Guitars for these pickups. Larry, drop me an email to stream@crimsonguitars.com. I suspect that your email is just getting mislaid, or that Matt's been on holiday. But the summer holidays have just been finished. But yeah, drop me your email and I will give him a call and try and put you in touch for sure. Purple Dracos says, could you do the knurled part in brass with the rest chromed? potentially could. Winding crown. And BB Guitar says crown. That's it. That's the crown. And I had a total mind fart and completely forgot it. Thanks, guys. Okay. Well, I'm running out of questions. Dave Lewis says, I hope I live long enough to see this finished. December, says KCM. What? Will it go TikTok? That's from Matt Toman. I had seriously considered putting in a some sort of a variable mechanism. I suppose I should film this. Matt Toman asks if it'll go TikTok. I had seriously considered putting in some sort of a variable metronome mechanism into the guitar so that you just set that going and you've just got a metronome ticking away that would be picked up by the pickups and everything. As an inbuilt guitar effect, I think that actually could be quite cool. But yeah, no. Ooh, it could be an idea to put acrylic to make the ends of the tuners in acrylic or glass rod or something. PJ says, what is the relatively expensive handmade watch that looks like a cheap Apple Watch with a loading circle? Relatively expensive, I think those go for about £30,000 or so. It is by H. Moser and C. H. Moser, I think it's called the Swiss Alps watch. Something along those lines. Here we go. So, oh, there you go. And they've actually got some versions without even hands, and yeah, they're intensely expensive. But yeah, H. Moser. Let's see if I can find the price for you just for fun. Yeah, $30,000. 30,000 bucks. They're insane. Okay. Well, look, I think that's, I'm running out of questions and queries here. How would you ground the lug if you don't have any metal casing on the pot? I'll have loads of metal casing on the pot. It's going to be custom throughout. Now, let me clear up a bit of my mess here and recoup my mind, and we're going to look at potential designs for the bridge. I'm not promising anything on the bridge design just yet. But I do think that this is where things could get interesting. Aha. Thinking about this bridge, I've been on the channel looking at complex, complicated, overcomplicated, multi-part bridges. Recently there was the Washburn bridge made by a company called Answer, and it's the Wonder Bar bridge. And I think that had more than 300 parts, one of our viewers counted, in it. Now, the temptation is for me to completely redesign a guitar bridge from the ground up, based around some sort of a gearing system. And I just can't justify doing that, when the reality is that a simple bent piece of metal does everything that we need. Now, with that in mind, I am tempted to customize the bridge. I'm tempted to use these saddles and make a custom base plate. I'm going to leave that for now. Or am I? This is the one thing I hadn't given very much thought to beforehand. Whew, damn it. I should have thought about the bridge more. JS Trucking says, wait a minute, why are you working today? It's Labor Day and you should be relaxing with a beer. Labor Day is 100% an American institution. We are, yeah. We had a late August bank holiday last week where nobody worked. So, yeah. Stephen Hatch. Stephen Hatch says you could run all of the wires in the build through a highly polished brake line. That is what I am planning for a chopper build. Dude, you 100% have got to, contractually, by watching this, send me photos of that when you're done. That sounds incredible. And it's a damn fine idea. BB Guitar says, could you achieve a nice look for the sides with a satin or matte grey and then scuff clear along the edge of the sides to achieve a brushed look? I was thinking highly gloss silver on the outside with a textured black finish internally, but having highly glossed bevels and then a brushed side like on the vertex here is actually a damn fine idea. Yes, I think I'd like to do that. The Shallow Da Vinci tuners from Stephen Hatch and Alessandro Pezzoli. Yes, that is what I had in mind, actually. They're also round. That is what I had in mind. That is something I considered a long time ago. Instead of open gear tuners, those would be great. Maybe. Actually, for that matter, Shallow do offer knurled knobs, the sort of thing that we've just designed here. So maybe that's a way to actually finish this in time. Okay. Blued steel. Yes, I would like to blue the bolts, if possible. It's a good call. Okay. Coming up with something unique for this bridge, that's gonna be interesting. For the bridge design, I really am in danger of utterly scuppering myself here. Okay. Here's your guitar body. And we've got our bevels and our acrylic and all that. So there's your tailpiece, and it's in four pieces actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's going all the way through the body and being locked in place, and that's solidifying the instrument massively. What I initially had in mind was actually even cooler, and that's literally just a circle. So you've got your body, and then you've just got a circle that literally goes through the entire thing. Maybe I could still do that, and that's where the strings go. You could still chop that there and still have it. So maybe that's something that I could do. Relatively simple and straightforward. And then the same thing here, I would need to have a taller system. You don't necessarily need a custom bridge at that point. You could literally just use a standard Tune-o-matic. Or we're talking just a jazz sort of wooden pickup with a pickup. Now, in the past, I've actually made a custom carved aluminium bridge that from the top looked like that, and then you just slid it around on the body. That feels a little bit imprecise for what we're talking about here. I think that I would like to have something with all the fine adjustment that you would want on a modern electric guitar bridge. having visible screws and things is not a bad idea on a watch-inspired build. I think that this is my working idea, actually. I'm going to get rid of this bridge entirely. I'm going to find a Tunematic style bridge that works with this and make a completely custom tailpiece. Yeah. I'm going to check the comments and see if anybody is trying to put me on a 48-hour psychiatric hold or something. Let's have a look. Okay. The bridge design reminds Black Wraith of the mainspring of a watch. That can't be wrong. Oh no, I'm not doing a 12-string. Carl Ray says, I think your diagram of how a watch goes together would make a nice looking wraparound tailpiece bridge with adjustable saddles on it. Ooh. Yeah, actually. Instead of curves, we have bevels. I think that's a damn fine idea. B-R-I-D-G. Titanium Damascus is a patented thing with a silly name. Okay, you guys must be talking amongst yourselves. Dave Lewis says, will the new Prime Minister last as long as this guitar build? Probably not. It would be cool if I could incorporate jewels into the saddles somehow, considering the bridges in a watch are what house the jewels. That is a very good point. Probably, yeah. Let me mull on that. Okay. A watch-inspired build should actually come in on time, right? This is from Tahoe Mike. Yeah. Okay, cool. Look, I think that what a trapeze bridge would work, but I need to build in some more strength into the body to solidify the whole thing. So I do want some sort of a mechanism that's going to bolt it all together. Ritesh Sharkey says, what would be the ideal crown height of the fret in an electric guitar before and after crowning? It entirely depends on the frets that you start with. There is no such thing as ideal. It just, yeah, it depends on how you begin. But yeah. Dave says that crazy bridge off the Washburn had as many parts as your average watch, which you're not wrong about. Okay, cool. Well, look, we've got 300 people, only 120 likes. Please hit like, everybody. I would very much appreciate it. I'm going to bring this to a close now. We have got the very basics of an idea. At this point, we know roughly what the guitar is going to look like. You all know me 100%, and these things are likely to change during implementation. No battle survives first contact with the enemy, and I am both... I was going to think of something funny and clever there. I am my own worst enemy. There we go. I am my own worst enemy. So the second my tools hit material, things are going to change. But I hope that this has titillated and interested you, and that you are going to be following along with this build. Don't forget that this guitar will be available. Somebody will be winning this guitar. The raffle money will be donated entirely to GGBO. And yeah, I'm supremely excited about it. So click like, subscribe, and stay cool. And wish me luck. It's a lot of guitar here. think I'm crazy. Now, questions, queries, comments. If you have any more questions or comments, then let's have another 5 or 10 minutes of that. And then I'm going to call it a day and go and continue thinking about the bridge, really. I think doing the wraparound might also work very, very well. Okay, so when's the next stream from Anonymous Botch? The next stream is going to be the Sunday evening Luthiers live question time, Sunday at 8 o'clock, and I'm planning on doing another stream Monday next week. Whether it is actually this build or something else, I don't know. I'm not going to be streaming the entirety of my GGBO build because it is, yeah, there's going to be a lot of relatively boring work involved in doing this and the machining, etc. And it just doesn't lend itself to streaming and talking. But yeah, I'm hoping that there's going to be another stream next week. Put a working watch in the headstock. I hope you had a good one. Take it easy. That's from Mr. Grumpy Toast 127. I'm looking forward to Ben completing this Dune-inspired guitar. It actually sort of does look like the Dune world, which is cool. Okay. What is the worst fret crown height? Again, there is no such thing. I've got a 70s, I've played 70s Les Pauls with basically no fret there at all, at 1 millimeter or less, and while the intonation isn't great because they don't have much curve, they still play. Personally, I prefer about a 1.2 millimeter fret height with a relatively narrow fret, but somebody who plays a different style of music to me, or who can actually play, might prefer super jumbo or much tinier. It is so subjective, I can't actually give you an answer, Ritesh. But it is what it is. When is the next hand tool only build video out? That's from TPB. I'm thinking in 2 or 3 weeks. Now the hand tool build is another build like this where it's absolutely, there's a lot of repetition, and what I want to do is I want to finish that build series in just 2 videos. So this week actually I'm going to be working on it. I'm hoping to put the whole body together and get the neck glued and situated and everything done, the kerfing, etc, 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 just and have it fine sanded and ready for finish in the next video, which I'm hoping will be not this Saturday but the next, although it may be even further away than that. And then the final video on that would be the finishing and setup and etc. Now this Saturday we're hoping is going to be a super edit from one of my older builds, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. It's been a while. Why don't we see more single coil guitars with set neck bodies? That's from VCS the Bone Cruncher. That is purely and simply down to habit, really. It just doesn't necessarily look right. Paul Needs asks me if I am familiar with Dali's The Persistence of Memory. I am not, although I went to college at West Dean College, and Dali spent a lot of time with our founder Edward James, living in the house, and there was some of his art, and there was one of the lobster phones in there, and some of the Mae West Lips sofas in the house. Yes, it was a very strange place to live for 2 or 3 years as a college learning institution. But hey, Dali's Persistence of Memory. Is that going to work? With the melting clocks. Yes, I am familiar with it. I just didn't know the name. Very cool thing. There's a watch by Cartier that's called the Crash, and it looks similar to that. It was a round watch, I think, or an oval watch maybe, that was in an actual car crash, and they've since made it into an actual model with crushed and moved. It's very, very weird. There we go. Anyway, look, I think we are done. Thank you, Bradley. Polycarbonate is strong as steel, used by Mythbusters as bulletproof shields, also used for screens on poker machines. Well, there we go. So I need some 8mm polycarbonate if I can route through it, because I'm going to need to put some holes in it. All right. Anyway, everybody, thank you very much for your support. I really enjoy doing these things. I'm glad that you could come along for the journey, and most importantly, I'm very, very much looking forward to building something with a router for a change. I'm so looking forward to using some power tools and routing through some polycarbonate and using my Myford engineer's lathe and customizing some metal and stuff. It's gonna be fun. I am already running out of time, so I'll say goodbye. Goodbye. Keep cool. I'll see you soon. I'm insane. I'm absolutely insane. Melted clock tailpiece. Okay, I think my kids are back from school from the first day back, so yeah, I am actually going to say goodbye. And goodbye, you rule.